Hello. I thought I'd do a video talking about the 18th of May, the 19th of May, the 20th, and then sort of a big connection in the dollar bill again, which is the 21st of May, and then the 22nd of May as well. So we're going to be sort of talking about all those numbers, how they all sort of fold in on themselves and connect back with one another. And I'm going to show you in the dollar bill again. I'll show you the actual fold so that you can actually see how to get the fold and what we're looking at to find the markers and all the rest of it. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is where the actual fold markers are. So in the dollar bill there's tons of little fold markers, like the little owl up here. This is a little fold marker, and here's another fold marker, and they kind of look like moths. I've called them maybe angels. Here's another fold marker. Here's another fold marker. Okay, here's another fold marker. And where you don't see fold markers, you can match pattern up. So you see this sort of undulating pattern here. It's repeated. Here's the undulating pattern here. And you can match this pattern up even if you can't quite see the fold markers either. Okay, so without spending hours now going through every little fold that's in here and showing you all the, there's multiple things in here, right? This is so loaded, it's unbelievable. But what we do is we basically are going to take a line, which in fact I could show you the line. We're going to go from one fold marker here through to another fold marker. Okay, so there's a fold marker, we're going through there all the way through to this other fold marker here. Okay, and so essentially what that means is we're going to fold the dollar bill where the red line is. And if we do fold the dollar bill there and we fold this top half out the way, what we end up with essentially is we're just able to see this portion here. So you can see now, forget the top portion, okay, but you can see now how we get the dam. Okay, and we could let's maybe just do something here. Let's do the edges of the dam wall so you can see this is the Grand Canyon wall here. Grand Canyon, or whatever the hell canyon it's in. Is it Black Canyon maybe? I don't know. Anyway, what we've got going on here is this is the edges of the canyon, right? And then obviously the dam is in here, and then the water that's going to come over the top of the dam is the necktie of Washington here. Okay, so that might make a little bit more sense to people when I go on about the dam fold that's in the dollar bill. That is it right there. Okay, it's a pretty obvious thing when you look at it. That Cody video from the other day, they were talking about the $50 bill. I couldn't remember what it was at the time, but it's the $50 bill has, and I believe it was Jonathan Kleck that did that fold. I believe actually it was Kleck that did all the previous 9/11 folds, maybe, but I don't know. But anyway, he has he connected that to the Hoover Dam. I don't know how, but makes you wonder, doesn't it? But yeah, that's in the 50. Okay, and again the 50. We've just had the 50 days here. We've just had Whitsun, okay, which is Pentecost, which is 50 days inclusive after Easter. Okay, and so again, super duper. I don't know. It's just super duper interesting stuff. Okay. Anyway, we'll be at. So if that was, I don't need to take all that off there actually. What I want to show you actually is the sort of next date, okay, which is the 21st. So if that was the 19th, okay, Whitsun was the 19th. Today we're Monday, it's the 20th. So the 21st is Ruby Tuesday, when the red ruby starts flowing again. Okay, the Colorado River. Okay, so this was Blue Monday, um, which is interesting with the Iranian president's crash with the destruction of the blue and white helicopter. Yeah. Um, what do I want to say? We're looking at, this would be, so that would be, today would be 51 days on, tomorrow would be 52 days on. I can't emphasize enough how much 52 is referenced in Back to the Future. It's referenced an absolute ton. If you watch the first 20 minutes of Back to the Future, it's in there an absolute ton. Okay, with Save the Clock Tower, with Marty giving 25 cents, with the 25 minutes late, the clocks are 25 minutes late. The I don't know, the what else? I'm trying now. I'm going to blank on the the Strickland and Marty face off. That's a 2552 reference. Forms the Cup of Christ, which is 52 or 25, depending on which way up that thing is. Okay. Anyway, that won't make sense to many people, but if you've been watching the channel, it will. Let me show you why the numbers that are important in the bottom of this thing here. Okay, so we've got obviously we've got the word doll as well, which is pretty interesting. 4. Let's write those in. 15. Oh, oh well, whatever. And what is that? 12. So check out the numbers we've got in here. 415 is, again, without getting too technical, it's a reference to a set of numbers that, oh dear, I don't know how to explain it without getting too technical, but it's a set of numbers that references, obviously it's a set of numbers that starts with the number 4. It's a hidden set of numbers in a table that I use. And I call it, it's like because it starts with 4 and 1, there's this reference back to a quarter. Okay. Ugh, not a very good explanation, but anyway, so there's a reference back to a quarter with that code. Yeah, that's not a very good explanation there, Dan, but it's interesting anyway that it's kind of a reference back to a quarter. I'm going to leave it at that. And then again, we've got 512 here as well. Okay, so if this number that we're looking at is the 21st of May. Okay, so we've got that going on. The other thing I wanted to show you was the actual, let me explain the actual encoding right here and right here. Okay, so what the easiest way to explain this is, if we look at this thing, what this does is, this looks like an old, like, Victorian picture frame or something, right? With the thing, yeah. This is the kind of frame that would be around a portrait, yeah. So it's like an old picture portrait frame around the edge of this number 1 here. Well, the number 1 is this dude right here. Yeah, this is the first president. Yeah, number 1. Now, this is a face-on portrait frame here. This is a face-on portrait frame. Now, if we go to this frame here, this is like looking at the portrait frame that's over here, except from the side. Oh, blimmin' hell, I can't write here, hang on. But this is like looking at the side of the actual portrait frame. So what this is telling us is that this is the number 1, but with a side profile, yeah? And the side profile of Washington occurs on, yeah, the quarter, 25. Okay, so this is essentially a 1. So this is 125 or 100. Okay, so 125 or 125 or 251, or any combination, basically, sort of, you know, of this, you know, 251, whichever way you want to write it, you know. So we could be looking at multiple, you know, you could pick out an awful lot of different dates here, you know, depending on the way you want to look at these numbers. Okay. There's another fold which occurs, to cut a long story short, where these two things come over together. Okay, and what I want to say about that is, as I move forward with this will make more sense with this number here. Okay, with 521. Okay, if we read this backwards, 521. Okay, and remember as well, these numbers here are all to do with this set of numbers here, which is Christmas. Okay, and there's so much more to this, but there are dates in here, and there are also quarter jump dates that are referenced within the dollar bill as well, which one of those quarter jump dates is Christmas, one is the 19th of January, a 911 reference. The 30th of November is in there, which is St. Andrew's Day. And what else is in there, Dan? The 5th of November, and the 13th of, what am I thinking? The 13th of February. Okay, so these quarter day jumps and the reference back to the quarter, and the you know, this Christmas connection with these numbers, with the numerology here, super duper important stuff. That's all I got to say about it. Anyway, if we jump back and pull this stuff back together, if it will go back that far, okay, what we can look at before I move on to showing you just some more stuff is when we count leaves and berries, right? You can actually look at, because when we make this fold, I guess I should just show you the fold real quick, and then I'll show you what the relevance of it is. Hang on a minute. Selection. So this other fold line is right through here, you know, and we're just basically just picking out spots where the pattern either repeats or there's a good case for putting a line through. And so you can come through the bottom of this horseshoe here, through the picture frame where it's like halfway, and you can pull that side over and match it up. Okay, and when you match that up there, what we've essentially done is we've essentially done a jump to, you know, the other side, right? Well, we can look at the numbers that are involved with that, and we can also look at the jump and where it takes us to. Okay, so what I'm saying is, let's count some leaves and berries. Let me show you this real quick. So if we count leaves and berries on this portion of the dollar bill here, 1, 2, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves. Sorry, this is part of these two are here, right here and here. So we've got 2, 5, and then we've got 4 berries. Can't really see it, but there's 1, 2 there, and 1, 2 there. So it's, let me nail down right, 2, 5, 4. Okay, 254, which 254th day of the year is 9/11. If we go now, count the leaves and berries in the center here that we're going to cover up. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves, and 1 berry. So we can take 155 from that. If we go 155 days from 9/11, it will take us to 2, 1, 3. Okay, the 13th of February with our 155-day jump. Now, so what, Dan? So what's interesting about 213? Well, you know, I guess decoders probably, you know, most of you out there already know how significant 213 is, but 213 happens to be the start of a sequence, What I want to, let's just go to this and I'll show you the sequence. Here's the start of the sequence, 213 right here. It's Lucas numbers. Okay, and this is my decode chart, the chart array, right? It's just made up of Fibonacci type sequences. Okay, this is not me putting numbers in a particular order just to make things work. This is just, you know, different rows of number groups, Fibonacci, Lucas, what I call pi numbers, which is just a sequence of Fibonacci type numbers starting on number 3, which just happens to go 314, which is the same as the start of pi. So I just called it pi numbers, pi sequence, or pi row, or whatever you want to call it. It's slightly different though from the actual numbers of pi, okay? Although there are a few other similarities. Obviously, that 4 row that I was talking about, which is hidden, which goes 4, 1, 5, yada yada yada, that row is missing out of here. Okay, I initially missed that row out because of the, if you look at the start of this, the 2, 3, 5, it kind of repeats itself. So there was kind of a synchronicity there. Okay, a synchronicity. I mean a symmetry. Okay, so that's why I did it that way. Whenever I built this chart, I did all these total numbers at the bottom here, and it just so happened that there was 2 rows, 2 columns in this chart here and here that just happened to come out at 55 and 88 as totals. So that's what really got me interested in this whole thing. Anyway, to cut a long story short, so the start of that, so where that gets us to with that number jump to 213, there's a secondary reference that you can use this chart as like almost like a times table chart, and you could like cross-reference like 2, starting a row on 2 and going to the 13th position, brings us down to, so we have 213 referenced again, brings us down to this 521. What's special about 521? Well, there's a lot of things special about 521, but here's something special about 521. It's right at the top of the dartboard. Okay. I don't know if there's anybody else that really talks about the dartboard, to be quite honest. But there's so many interesting little things in the dartboard. You know, the fact that 911 is opposite itself here. You know, if you go directly across 119, 911, and if you go across here, across this horizontal with the vertical 521 at the top, yeah, again, it's 611, or again another, another 911 reference. Okay, depending on how you want to look at the 6 or the 9. So what's fascinating about that 611 there, it is 203 days. Is it the 203rd day of the year or 203 days left? I can't remember. But it kind of ties in with that cross. So if you ever watch Jurassic Liars, he talks about that date. It's right in the main cross of the dartboard, which is pretty interesting. But anyway, back to 521, which is right here. Obviously, 520 as well, going into 521, is a pretty interesting number as well. We're on 520 today. I don't know what else to say about it other than we're on it today. And let me show you a couple other interesting things in that chart of Lorraine with 520, and we'll just jump about in it and just show you the fact. The other thing about the dartboard is notice that 2, 1, and 5 are grouped together. 1, 2, 5 is grouped together. 5, 2, 1 is grouped together. That's done for a reason. It's grouped together 3 times. Okay, so again, we got Madonna's birthday opposite the numbers of pi here. Okay, so there's a lot of fascinating things. Here's Charlie Boy, yeah, and here's the death of the Queen on each side, each leg. Charlie Boy is born from between, when the Queen dies, the King is born from between the legs of the Queen here, the Queen's death, 9-8. Just some crazy stuff in here. But anyway, let's go back to this so I can sort of talk through some of these numbers again. Okay, so what I'll say about this number here, as it reduces down to the number 8, and if we were to go into some of my other charts, what you'll find is that these cycles, they all have a point at which we have a set of number 1s, which we can see here on this one, but because this isn't reduced, we don't see the set of that goes with the number 1s. To balance out the number 1 is the number 8, and this happens to be in the row of 8s in my other charts, which maybe I could go and show you that. Let me show you actually where that does. The problem is I have to go to a different thing here. Hang on. Let me show you this very, very quickly, where that corresponds to. So that actually corresponds to, this is Lucas numbers, and the top number line doesn't equate quite the same because we don't have the 0 in here with Fibonacci, but this is what that number equates to. Okay, this is where it would be in the sequence of Lucas numbers. Yeah, right before the 17, and then we got the 65 on the other side. And all I can say about that is this is 178 here. I don't know. I haven't really had a proper look at, sort of tying that in. And in fact, it would happen over here as well. It's that same 8 as here. Okay. So anyway, I don't know what else to say about it. It is fascinating though that in Lucas numbers, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm even saying here now. Anyway, let's forget about that. Let's go back to the other chart. So, let me show you a couple of other interesting things, right? And then we'll be done because I can't sit here all night doing this. So we're in the 13 column. So numbers in the 13 column. 665 is pretty darn interesting. And there's 233. Let me show you 233 also. With this is the 13th Fibonacci number. 233. Let me show you right here. Here it is. Is the N2 or the bottom of the two towers here. 2033. Okay. Kind of. It's just interesting the way these things tie together. Like this is the 13th row here, and what comes right before that, the number 13, and then here's 53 after it. And if we come down here, we've got 953. So it's just interesting the way these numbers kind of tie back in on themselves. But so 233, the 251 also has a twin number. If we add all of these up through here, okay, including the 199, if we add all those together, it's going to come out to 520. Okay, so there's our 520, but 520 also shows up, and really what I need to do, let me get rid of some of this jazz now, but just remember that is right surrounding a number as well that's also to do with the Queen's burial. Okay, the 19th of September. What I really need to do is just quickly whiz the clock tower in here so you can see the clock tower. Okay, so here's the top of the clock tower going in. Okay, so that's the clock tower, and then we could put the clock face in, which the clock stops on 10:04. Yeah, that's 14 numerology. And then we have the stylized 55, which is the lightning coming down. Yeah, 5, 5 that hits the top of the clock tower, and why did I get rid of that? And then the clock stops. Put that back in there so we can see it. And so the clock stops at 10:04, and then what happens is the lightning. Well, let's just do a line here. The lightning goes down the line sets a line on fire, but it goes across the 11 and the 9, and it heads over somewhere over here to a lamppost. Yeah, the lamppost is, let's do a, yeah, what's still on that? Let's do this. The lamppost is a 1 and a 0, yeah? A 1 and a 0, number 10 right here, or it could even be the day of the year when this symbolism is out, which is the maypole, yeah, which is Phi. In fact, this row here, actually it doesn't look like Phi, but I called this the Phi row because it starts 5, 1, 6, and 1, 6, 1.618, yada 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 is Phi. But a way of getting to Phi is using the number 5 in a calculation. Anyway, again, you know, if you gosh, I don't know how you do this thing, but you this sort of squiggle like that. I've done it wrong, but whatever. That's the symbol for Phi. It's basically a circle with a stick off of it, and or a 1 going through a 0, you know. And again, it's the maypole, 5-1, May Day, 5-1. Okay, and this is all right here. You know, this little box is all, you know, 10, 55, 5-1. Yeah, 55 going back to balance, back to the Holy Spirit. 55. Okay. Now, what I want to show you though is, let's get onto this, is that there's this tower symbolism, right? Because at the Hoover Dam we've got some towers. Okay, 4 inlet towers. Okay, so it's an 11-11 basically, and as you can see, these are split up. I would have been better if I'd drawn them a bit more equally. They're supposed to be the same shape. But these are our 4 pillars that are on the courthouse. These are our 4 inlet towers at the Hoover Dam. These are the 4 kind of corners of the earth. I don't know, the 4 pillars of the earth, however you want to look at it, right? These are like in the Fifth Element, when Lilu, what the hell's her name? Lilu has to save the Earth. Yeah. What happens at that point is they have to find, what is it? Earth, wind, fire, and water on each pillar, and then the center pillar that goes up through the middle of the pyramid where they're at, which is Lilu, and this is that pillar right here. This is the thing that the hoverboards, Griff's hoverboard with the Stooges, those 3 hoverboards crash into the door, the glass door in between these 2 pillars. This is that doorway here. This is the monolith right here. This is the door. This is the 5th pillar that you don't see because it's a doorway. It's negative space. Anyway, it's 255. Interesting. 255 or the 20th. If you could reduce that down. That you especially reduce that 55. I like to do there's a couple of ways to reduce that. One way I like to reduce double numbers is just to a single digit of the number. So 55 would just be 5. Okay, or you could reduce it to a 10. Interestingly, 2010, that date ties back to Hoover, ties back to President Hoover, Harris, and also Snoop Dogg as well on that day. Yeah, so there's some interesting connections back, but that can tie you back, reducing that down to a 10, and also obviously reducing it to a 5 is today, or well, if I get this video done. It's a bit wiffly waffling, this video, but you can see that that date as well. Yeah, I don't know what to say about it. It's the fifth element. In fact, if we went to, I was just having a quick look. What was this? Come on. Well, let's try this one. Oh, here it is. Yeah, this is the fifth element. This is where she's just been recreated, right, and it's escaping um, from the lab. Essentially, she comes down it's almost, it's comes out of a round tube basically, and is on the side of the building here. And this sort of train thing comes down the side of the building with a big 50 on it, but it also looks like it could also be a 250. There's just a hint of something here. So again, with the 50 days of Pentecost, and then the 250, the quarter reference again, maybe there. So I thought it was interesting with the train, because the train ties Doc Brown or Christopher Lloyd back into with Madonna. But anyway, I just thought I was interested with the fifth element and talk about the pyramid with the four stones, and then they have to put the fifth element in the middle, which shoots up through the blooming capstone. Essentially, just interesting stuff. All right, what was we on? What was we on? Let me go back to the chart and let me just show you a couple more things, and then we'll be done, because I've got a headache and this isn't going smoothly at the minute. So when we're looking at down here where it goes to, where the lightning bolt goes to, 5-1 Mayday, 5-10, okay, and also 105, which is a nice reference back to from 9/11 through to Christmas is 105 days. Yeah, it is. Yeah, 105 days. So it's nice. It's a nice reference back. But also, if we actually come and do the 510 reference in the chart here, what you'll see is this number here, 225. Which again, if you read that number backwards, yeah, if you just read that number backwards, it's May the 22nd. Okay, so this is sort of a completion row here, and this is completion here with the number 10. We've got the number 5, the Holy Spirit. So 225 is pretty important, right? Also with 225, you'll see references. I know I've talked about this before, but you'll see references to Essex. Okay, and We Seek, We Find goes through the individual letters of Essex, and obviously you can get those numbers there. Okay, so you can get your 19th of May out of this, and you can get 24 on the X, right? So that's interesting stuff. But this reference here for me, this Essex references a character, the Earl of Essex, and I mean you see this in film, quite a bit Essex, but in Back to the Future we have the Essex Theatre, yeah, where they've got the Cattle Queen playing in 1955, and then it goes over to the porno in 85, yeah. But you see this Essex referenced, okay. Now the Earl of Essex is, or was, Robert Devereux, or actually I don't know if it might have been a different Devereux, I don't know, but anyway. Oh dear, come on. Personal references for me, both of these things, right? But this date, right, which is, let's write it a different way, 2/25. This is the date that this dude, who coincidentally has a tower named after him in the Tower of London, So we have a tower reference as well with this dude. Okay, but this is the day of the year when he got his head chopped off. Okay, and you see that symbolism with Trump as well, with Kathy Griffiths, with that image, you know. So the decapitation, the head cut off. Okay, 225, pretty interesting. The fact that that is also an inversion of this number, so 225 and 552 or 255. Again, it's just interesting. I don't know what to say about it other than it's just interesting. But there we go on that stuff. Anything else to say? Oh, I've got a bit of a headache, and I just want to go to May, and we just take a quick look at the actual days here. So the 140 here with the 14 on the 19th yesterday. So the clock tower numbers, yeah, numerology for the clock tower stopping, the clock stopping. Interesting that the point at which the matrix is born is the point at which the clock stops, time stops. Okay, again, I think I was talking about that with the eclipse as well, like, because if you look at when those two bodies come together, there's the kind of hourglass symbolism there, and you can kind of look at that as like time slowing and then time starting again. Okay, but no, well, anyway, I don't want to make this video super long with talking about time stopping and everything, but that is essentially what is being stolen at that point. Okay. La da da, 141. I thought I had something for 141, but I can't remember what it was now. But again, if we do look at the 20th of May, look at the numbers here, which is 225 for days remaining in the year. Pretty interesting, seeing as the couple of days later here we're on 522. And 143 again is super interesting because it's the combination of 55 plus 88. Okay. What else do we have going on here? I don't know. 142, that just ties back to the Queen's birthday, with the numerology there. And again, this ties back, with the 521 to the top of the dartboard. And of course, if you're going for top score, which is 666, triple 60, you have to be in that 20 that's essentially towards the top of the dartboard. And also the sort of taking the head, or releasing the head of water that's being built up there. Okay, so cutting the dam. I don't know. There's this idea of the head. I don't know what I'm talking about here, but the head is also the toilet. But the head, the top of the dam that has to be knocked off to allow the water to flow again. I don't know what else to say about it. But 521 obviously ties back to the start of the cycle, which was our big number jump of 155 days in the dollar bill, which takes us from 9/11 through to 213, and 213 is a reference back to 521. So it's just interesting how those things just sort of tie together. I don't know if I had really anything else other than that. All these dates right here are just super duper interesting, and obviously the 18th was our midpoint between the Queen and Trump, between those two dates of their birthdays. And on the opposite side of the year, when we were dealing with the Pluto return thing, we're dealing with an opposite in between date, which is the 17th of November. Okay, so again, super duper important. 139 as well is super duper important. Let me show you it. Oh, what a mess. Look at this crazy mess. I won't be able to get rid of all this. I've gone too far. It only lets me erase so far back. Anyway, well, that's far enough. What was I saying? Yeah, 139. If we look at 139, it's a pretty interesting number in its own right. 139, because it shows up twice here, and once is as a total for the 7 column. So this is pretty important. Okay, pretty important stuff. Will I leave it there? I think so. I think I waffled way too much on this one. It's kind of difficult because it's kind of all over the place. It's backwards and forwards and showing where one number ties to another number. But yeah, super duper. And also look, there's 142 here. Yeah, coming straight down here into that next set of numbers. So again, 142. It ties back with this previous day, and it ties back to that center point of 140 here. It's all these numbers all tie together. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but just like that 14 there, and we got here's the 19th here, 519. So it's pretty crazy, basically. I'm leaving it there. Hope you enjoyed it. I definitely would keep a watch out for the next couple of days for sure. Yeah, definitely keep a watch out. Anyway, thanks for watching. Cheers, bye.